Hello, business building warrior. So glad you're going to join us today for another episode of Silent Sales Machine Radio Podcast, the only podcast in all of e commerce, to our knowledge, that features hundreds of interviews with the students who have gone through our training and succeeded building beautiful businesses. That's right. The vast majority of the episodes of this podcast, if you're new around here, are interviews with students who, in many cases, have never done anything to any degree of success online before. They came into our community, they used our free resources, or maybe some of our inexpensive paid courses and training materials, or maybe they jumped into coaching. But in any case, they used what they learned and they built a beautiful business. And then we interviewed those folks and they share their stories of their journey. It inspires and encourages and equips you to do the same. That's what we do most of the time. But we also, once a week or so, go into what we call the coach's corner, which is where we bring on a couple of the great coaches from our team. They talk about what they're seeing, what they're observing, and they just have a conversation about the common topics, the popular topics in our community. And that's what today's episode is. So you're going to hear in just a moment from my good friends, Brian and Robin Joy Olson. I'll be bringing them on in just a moment. And they're going to talk about doing the next right thing. Maybe you've been in e-commerce for a while. What's the next right thing? Maybe you're brand new and you don't know what the first right thing is. You don't know how to get started. They're going to talk about all that today. A couple things after I enjoyed listening to their episode, and I'm recording this introduction after the fact. A couple things I observed about the show today, and I wish we'd done it together because I always found myself listening to the show and kind of interjecting my own thoughts and excitement into it. But schedule works out sometimes where we can do that, but not today. But a couple thoughts just to kind of put the icing, a little bit of decoration on the icing, I should say, for today's episode before you dig into the real value of what they have. The theme is, like I said, doing the next right thing. Part of our philosophy around here, and they'll allude to this, but the terminology we've used for years that I think best encapsulates what it is we're trying to communicate today is we believe in just in time learning versus just in case learning. And what that means is we're going to give you what you need when you need it to take the next right step. Instead of giving you everything you might ever need just in case you need it someday, we take one little step at a time. And the thought I had as I was listening to Brian and Robin Joy today was not every business model affords itself to that kind of thinking. There are certainly some businesses out there in the world where you do need to study for several years before you do anything, like high risk. I've got to imagine if lives are at stake, you got to learn a lot of stuff before you start pushing buttons and making things happen. Well, there's no lives at stake here with the business model that we teach. And there's a lot of grounds for you to play in, and we want you to get comfortable. Buy something, send it in, make a sale, lose a little money. That's okay. Get used to the process at the beginning. So we teach those first few steps. We try to remove all the fear and we teach you, hey, take that next step. Let's take the next step. You don't need to know everything that's going to happen in step 87 through 97, right? Let's take steps 1 through 3 right now, this week. That's our philosophy. So we give you what you need just in time, right when you need it, not the whole catalog of everything you're ever going to encounter, just in case it happens someday, because we'll be here when those things happen. We can help you through it. So that's the first observation I made. Listen for that theme as you go through the episode today. The other thing is they described extremely well. So I'm not going to give you any details on a program called Kickstart. And they mentioned in the show today, you can go to silentjimdotcom/kickstart. And it's such a robust program that you might find yourself thinking, wow, I hope I can afford that. There's a lot going on there. It's only $37. And I know they meant to mention that, but I don't think they did. Maybe they did and I just missed it. But it's only $37 one time to go through Kickstart. I'll let them describe what that is. But it's basically a group setting where we handhold you through the initial setup of your Amazon account, getting your first item bought and sending it in, going through all those first iterations one time. I'll let them describe it. But when you're hearing them discuss that, keep in mind, 37 bucks. Another favorite part of the show today, and again, I'll let them describe it, but they talk about their WPAs. This is a Brian and Robin Joy original concept where they talk about WPA. What's that? Well, that's worth the price of admission. And they've been to several of our events in the past, our live events, which the next one's coming up in Orlando, Florida. You've heard me say it before if you've been a listener, May 23rd through 25th of 2024, Orlando, Florida. theprovenconference.com is the website. We still have a tiny handful of general admission tickets left. The event is nearly sold out. VIP's been sold out for a while. We'd love to see you there. But they talk about the little moments, the little lessons, the little tips that they picked up from previous events that they've attended that make it worth the price of admission. Meaning, if all I had come and experienced was this one little moment, this one little tip or strategy or insight, it would have been completely worth my time to have been a part of this event. So look for that and take note if you're coming to our conference, or maybe you're just going to join us by live stream. I've got to make one last little announcement before I turn it over to Brian and Robin Joy. Live stream is at an extreme discount right now. If you wait until the event starts on May 23rd, you're going to pay a lot more money to get the recordings and live stream for this event. Over 45 breakout sessions recorded professionally for you. Most of them, the majority of them, live streamed, that you can experience it in real time in a group that has about coming up on 800 people already in it, an active Facebook group. You can experience the event, interact with the people who are there in real time, see the pictures, capture the energy. It's the next best thing to being there. We want you to get that. There's details on live stream at theprovenconference.com. There's a link at silentjimdotcom to that as well. If you just want to remember the main link, there's a link to our conference there. You can look into live stream. Make sure you get it before the conference starts. The sooner the better. There's already a bunch of content on there where the leaders from our community are talking about the sessions that they're going to be teaching and giving you a little overview of what you can expect from your time with each of the great leaders in those 45 plus great sessions. Okay, so enough of an introduction. Thank you for hanging out with us today. I'm going to turn it over to my good friends. Take it away, guys.
Welcome back to Silent Sales Machine Radio. We are your co-hosts. I'm Brian.
And I'm Robin Joy.
And this is Coach's Corner.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome back. We are excited about this particular podcast. We're excited about all the podcasts. Like we were just before we hit the record button, like, wow, we really do enjoy doing this.
We really like it. We're having fun.
We are. Well, before we get started in this podcast, today it's about 5 days into May. Cinco de Mayo.
Yes, it is.
So that means,
as we're recording this,
as we are recording, that the Proven Conference is right around the corner.
Oh, I can't wait. I love the Proven Conference more and more every time I go. It's so much fun. The energy is incredible.
Right. So the Proven Conference is May 23rd, 24th, and 25th. And we want to meet all of you there. Please come up, say hello, introduce yourselves. We're looking forward to meeting as many of you as we can.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we really look forward to about going to this conference or any event really is what the one thing that we can take out of that experience that will make the entire event worth it to us.
Right. If we couldn't have gotten anything else out of it, would we have still gone to get this one thing?
Would it be worth it if that was the only thing that we got?
Right.
Yes. And we call it what?
Worth the price of admission. We call them our WPAs, and we keep a running list during the whole event so that we can talk about it later when we get home, the things that each of us learned that would have been worth it even if we didn't get anything else.
Yeah, so WPAs, we keep a list. We encourage you to do the same. And like sometimes it'll happen right when you walk in the door. You'll have a conversation with someone who's like, wow, I am so glad I came. Just that one conversation was worth the price of admission, in which, by the way, in this case, the price of admission is, super low price.
Yes.
Totally worth it, right?
So,
anything else you want to say on the WPAs?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think everyone should keep their WPAs or whatever way that you keep track, because sometimes you'll get busy and you'll get tired and so many things will be going on and you forget after you come home, you forget all the little things that you got out of it that weren't exactly scheduled. And trust me, most of what you get out of this is not going to be the scheduled stuff, but you're going to get a lot out of that too. There's over 50 breakout sessions this year.
That's what I heard, over 50
There are going to
sessions.
be over 700 people there. It is going to be amazing.
Off the hook.
I'm just so excited.
Next level, as they say. Right?
Right.
Okay,
but guess what? We get more.
We're a little bit spoiled.
We get extra this year.
Yeah. We are doing the Path to 100 ASINs workshop.
Yes.
The 2 days prior, which is May 21st and May 22nd.
Yes. And those of you who are going to meet us there are going to get extra. too. I'm super stoked about that. Like you say, it's my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing. Everything's my favorite thing.
It is. Now, last we checked, this particular workshop was full.
Yes.
Over 35 attendees. This is the second time we've done this workshop. The first time was highly successful. That's why we did this one. But please reach out to Matt Thompson or Nathan Bailey at the coaching office, as there may be some last minute cancellations. This happened the first time too. And there usually are for
so if you want to kind of get on a waiting list.
If you want to get on a waiting list, if you're going to be there anyway, maybe you're planning to go and do some stuff ahead of time, but you'd like to get in the workshop if there's an opening. Great time to engage, maybe get on the list.
Yeah. And you could get on a list for, if we do another one as well, which we probably will. So get on the list to be notified when and if that happens as well.
And also let us know if you would like to see more of this type of in-person training.
Yeah. A lot of people like to do in-person training. And so, more can be developed. If this is something that you're looking for, let us know.
Yeah, I think there's huge a huge list of benefits. Sorry, features and benefits was on my mind of the in-person training that you can't overstate.
Right.
Just, we always talk about, or at least we have for this one, who all is going to be there, right? We're going to have Jim Cockrum's going to be there. Yeah. Jimmy Smith is going to be there. Nathan Bailey and Matt Thompson are going to be there. Robin Joy and I will be there.
Other members of the leadership will
Other members of the leadership team are going to be there.
Yes.
Potentially other coaches as well. So what a great time to just come in and rub shoulders and hang out with people and ask the questions that maybe you're too shy or too afraid to ask in the Facebook group or in the Monday meetups or in the Kickstart program. Just come hang out. I mean, it's way more than hanging out. Ton more value than that.
Ton more value. And you do have to be registered in the workshop there. It is limited space.
I didn't mean to say you can't just come by. Hang out. Yeah, just the
but
benefits of being there.
But if you are there, you'll get that. And most of the workshops that we do have all those things included. But what else do you get when you're at one of the in-person workshops?
In-person events? Well, I think one of the things is what we're going to do in this workshop is you get the hands-on sourcing and decision-making process there with people who have highly successful businesses who are right there sort of looking over your shoulder.
Right. And all the ideas and things that people have tried of other people in the room. I mean, everybody has some input, right? We're always learning from people that we work with, whether they have a small book of business or a huge book of business, always.
Right. So you get the group dynamics.
Yeah.
It's one thing to get the one-on-one, tutoring or mentoring. The benefits of being in a group like this are just nearly endless because everyone has a question and it is potentially coming at an issue from a slightly different perspective that you may not have thought of before. And you're like, oh, that is so, I never even would have thought to ask that question.
Right.
But now I know how to address that particular situation when I see it.
Exactly. It kind of gives you a little bit of learning by osmosis, something that you might not quite be ready for, but it plants the seed. Yeah. And I always say this in the Kickstart, those of you who have been in Kickstart with me, always ask questions, because if you have that question, someone else likely has the same or similar question and didn't even think to ask it or was too shy to ask it. So it helps everybody when you ask questions. Keep that in mind when you're in these breakout sessions at the Proven Conference as well.
I just want to take a couple of minutes and rabbit trail here down this path that we were talking about the other day. We may have had it on a podcast previously, but it's about that time in your life when you first got glasses.
Oh, me?
You.
Yeah, I do. I tell this story.
Well, give us a brief recap here, because I think there's a good, this relates well to the workshop.
Okay. So I'm nearsighted. And I have apparently always been nearsighted. Just when you're a kid, you don't know how other people see. When I was in third grade, I was diagnosed nearsighted and I got a pair of glasses. And I remember the biggest thing I remember about it was I went to church and I was sitting in the pew and I could see the preacher's face. I could see his expressions and I didn't realize that people could see that. I thought it was just a blur, moving around up there that everybody saw, but that was just what I saw. I didn't even know I was missing it. I was amazed.
Right. So you often think that everyone sees exactly the way you do.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone does the process exactly the way you do because that must be the only way it's done.
Yeah, and everyone has learned exactly the same things and been exposed to the same things that you've been exposed to.
Right. So what you get when you come to an in-person training like this is all these different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember so many light bulb moments the first time we did this workshop where they're like, I didn't know that's what that meant. Or I didn't know you could do that.
Right. And you see people in the room going, oh, now that makes sense. Someone else had to rephrase it in a different kind of question, and then it clicked.
We had someone there who didn't realize they didn't have the paid version of Keepa. All their Keepa analysis was just going off the free version, and it was like, well, yeah, that kind of can solve some problems for you when you're seeing data points with your subscription that you didn't think that. Yeah, you think, oh, well, this must be all there is for me to see. So, right. Anyway, lots of
all
other.
Right. So what else?
And the third one that people are going to get out of this, in addition to
we're talking about the workshop.
Yeah. So the hands-on sourcing and the over-the-shoulder with guidance from leadership team there, the group dynamics of the different questions and the perspectives that other people bring, and finally you're going to leave with a plan that gets you to 100 ASIN.
Gives you a solid, predictable foundation to build your business on, to build your profits on. Yeah. Get a plan. All right.
So we're going to switch things up a little bit this week.
Yeah. All right. Let's do it.
Instead of ending with a quote, we're actually going to start with a quote. Well, we're 10 minutes in, so so we're not actually starting with a quote. But this quote comes to us from Gary Keller, who is co-author of the book The One Thing. And the reason we want to visit the quote first is because we think there are a lot of lessons in here that apply to this business, and so we want to dig into that. So the quote goes like this: extraordinary success is sequential, not simultaneous. You do the right thing, and then you do the next right thing. Yeah.
What
does it mean to you?
It's really powerful to me because, you try to have it all figured out before you get started, but really it's these right things, the things that you have to do, the things in front of you have kind of an order or a priority hierarchy. One has to happen before anything else matters. So some examples of that: figuring out what to do about returns doesn't matter if you've never sold anything. I can know exactly what I'm going to do about a return, how I'm going to handle it, what I'm going to think about it. But if I never sell anything, I'm not going to have a return. So that was wasted energy.
Exactly. The next thing would be like, maybe you want to make sure you have everything figured out about how to prep all your items. But that really doesn't matter until you have something to ship.
Right. You got to go find something to sell first.
Right. So this, I think, kind of helps us from getting overwhelmed, right? As long as we know we just have to focus on the next right thing.
One thing at a time, one step at a time.
And then you're not going to have any inbound transportation issues to deal with. For instance, items that maybe came up missing from your shipment, or Amazon says you sent too many.
Placement fees
or any of that stuff doesn't matter.
That stuff matters
if you don't ship anything in.
That's right. There are no customer feedback issues if you haven't sold anything. Customers can't give you feedback unless they buy your product. And they can't buy your product if you don't sell it to them, if you don't have it for sale. Right?
Right.
So it makes me think of that hike to the top of the mountain, right? We're going to the top of the mountain. That's our goal. That's where we're headed. And we're pointed that way. We got to take one step at a time. We're not going to take one big jump as soon as we get enough energy going. And we're not going to just, get ourselves going, and then one big jump and we're at the top of the mountain. It just doesn't work that way.
No, it's what the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of another way of saying this, right? There are some things also that may never be relevant to your business.
Right.
So
some things you may never care about.
Yeah. Like private label.
Right. You may never decide to go with a private label business, and you don't need to. You can have a very profitable business in other strategies, in the REPLENS strategy, or you may go a different way.
Yeah, I would say we know people who've been doing this business for many years, 3, 4, 5 years, and they don't have private label.
No.
Never created a listing. Don't know the first thing about that stuff
they
yet.
Sell only on community listings.
Yep. They've got thriving 7-figure businesses.
Yes, we do. We know a few people, quite a few people actually that are doing that.
You don't need to know how to run a warehouse.
Right. You may never run your own warehouse. You don't need to understand all the logistics of that. Don't worry about the things that may never matter. They may, but they certainly don't matter now. Like I said, it's a waste of energy. You need that energy to get going in what you've already decided to do, right?
Agreed.
So we want to do the first right thing first.
Yeah. Take that first step. Get in the game with the very first thing that matters.
Get in the game.
Because business here, success in business is not like a one-time grab, right? It's not a one-time like, oh, I got this truckload of TVs I'm going to flip.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make that's all the money I ever need to make, right? If I'm going to run a business, which is what we're doing here, this is not a get rich quick. And this is certainly not a passive income strategy, at least not when we're starting out.
When we're starting out, it becomes more and more passive as time goes by.
It becomes less and less. You have to engage less and less, right? If you are scaling, building, and
if you want it to be.
If you want it to be, it doesn't have to be. But the real successful businesses, I was comparing it this morning to almost like a replenishable ASIN.
Oh, yeah. Everything's an ASIN to us,
Everything is an ASIN.
All of our examples are to each other, and in other places are always, well, it's just like an ASIN, right?
So if you had an ASIN that you were able to replenish, the more weeks that you could replenish that ASIN, the more successful that ASIN is going to be for you, because you're going to be making
the more profitable it's going to be overall
on those on every time you're replenishing that.
Some will last a long time, some won't. Those will last a long time in and of themselves, give you lots of profits.
Right. So if you've got an ASIN that you were only able to replenish for 2 weeks, well, that's a short-term success. I mean, there are short-term successes
is good too.
that we need to have. But really, we're looking for a long-term success. So how do we back that ASIN, that one ASIN up that maybe was only successful for 2 weeks? Well, we need to have 100 right behind it, 200 right behind it, 300 right behind it. Because if you look at what a successful business, let's say like Google, like Apple, like IBM, like General Electric.
Yeah, these solid blue chip.
They strung weeks, successful weeks, successful months, successful quarters, and successful years together over a long period of time. The longer you can stretch it, the more profit you're going to have.
And the more solid your foundation, the longer you can stretch it.
Well, and so if you need more of a foundation in order to stretch it longer.
Right.
Right. So then if the one ASIN that is only profitable for 2 weeks goes away and you got 200 behind it, you don't really care.
Right. So then the repetitiveness is in the new ASINs coming all the time. But dropping everything and go finding out what's available right now, like what's on sale right now and stuff, is not always the answer. The answer could be in your system for feeding new, fresh ASINs into your foundation all the time. You're always going to have to fix potholes. There are always going to be changes and adjustments and pivots that you have to make. So make sure you have plenty of new, fresh things coming in so that you can manage that. So it becomes more sustainable over a longer period of time.
We're looking for long-term sustainability. We're looking for long-term stability.
Yeah. And may I say, I just want to point out here, make sure we hit this strongly, that whether it's a short-term ASIN or a long-term ASIN, that we can't control. That happens. Let's control what we can control and know that it could be a short-term ASIN. So let's always be ahead of the game, bringing more ASINs in. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, we have to continue to string those achievements together. That's what it is. It's just keep doing the next right thing. We're getting back to the quote.
Right. And so when we have an achievement, even if it's a short-term achievement, at least in the Olsen house, we celebrate. We celebrate everything, everything. But we don't stop. We stop for a minute. We celebrate. We say, you know what? We're going to take the rest of the afternoon off and we're going to get back at it first thing in the morning. Or we're going to we're going to go to lunch now, enjoy a lunch, a special lunch, because we achieved something big. And then we're going to get right back to work this afternoon. So do celebrate. Always keep celebrating because, nobody wants to always be in the dungeon doing all the work and never getting anything for it. By the end of life, you want to make sure that you've done things that you're proud of, that you have celebrated I don't know how better to say it. I keep trying to say the same thing over and over. I'm rambling, but do celebrate, but keep moving forward. Don't stop.
I was going to say, we celebrate the daily milestones, right?
Yes.
We're looking at
day.
every day. We'll write down what were our sales yesterday? What was our profit yesterday? Thank you, Seller Board. What was, what customer feedbacks did we get that were positive? All those positive things, we are getting together over coffee. We're celebrating those. We're writing them down so we know.
And we're grateful for them.
Absolutely.
This is how we find our positive energy to get us through another day.
Yeah, because there are some days that just feels like Amazon kicked you right in the gut. And, you have to remember the good feeling. And the way that you remember it is by repeating it a lot. And that's what we do every day. And then once we're done with the morning check-in, then we're like, messaging each other back and forth throughout the day, like celebrating the milestones of our daily sales, right? Daily sales milestones. Or if something happens during the day that's like we found a new supplier, or, a new ASIN took off, or we sold something above the buy box.
Yes. Or we got $5 back from that shipment we just ordered from our supplier. Yay. I mean, little things are worth celebrating. They're not worth stopping for, but they're worth celebrating. So to us, it's a pretty big deal, right?
It is.
I was going to say something. I'm going to go off script just a little bit now.
Now you're going off script.
I was going to say something about some of the clients that I work with. Sometimes they come to our session and they're like, I got to tell you, this happened this week. This happened this week. I got my first sale. Oh, I figured out how to get this to accomplishment to happen. I got some feedback this week that was great. They're excited. They feel good about where they're going. I got something figured out. And I tell them, write this down, how you feel right now. Journal that. Put those feelings on paper so that they're solid and available for you to see again, because you're not always going to have that feeling. Put it up on your computer or somewhere where you can see it all the time, so that when you do have those days when you feel like Amazon kicked you, or you feel like, your supplier, those issues, go look at that and remember, it's just today. That's not the way it is all the time. And you can get through this. This is how you bring it back. So I just wanted to share that. Sometimes people do that. Okay.
Great. So let's say that we're ready to do the first right thing.
Right. We want to do the first right thing first.
What would you say is the first right thing?
Take the first step. Now, we're always saying, take that first step. Take a step. Take action. And we know people are out there going, yes, I'm ready to take action. What is the first step? Where do I go? Where do I put my foot? We're going to tell you. First thing that we recommend you do is become a member of PAC, the Proven Amazon course. There is so much information in this library of tools and courses and quick start guides, and there's so much in there. For $39 a month, oh man, it's so undervalued. There is so much you get. It's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. No brainer. Get PAC. First step.
Okay. And when you get PAC, I would just caution you to focus in on the one thing that is that you're trying to do.
Right. Because it can be a little overwhelming.
And I speak from experience. Oh, I must need to do all of these things. I must need to do KDP. I must need to do private label. I must need to do bundles. I must need to do replens. I must need to do all of these things. Wholesale. Right. And that can be distracting. Trying to do all of those things at one time is not going to get you very far.
True.
So pick one thing. Whatever your preferred strategy is, zero in on that, focus on that.
Yeah. And you know what? We recommend that the first thing you do is replens. It's the lowest risk, the lowest investment required, and the highest chance for success. It's the fastest you can get your money back, even though it seems like a long time at the time. It's way faster than any of the other strategies. We've tested them all. We've seen this over and over. It's the best place to start, the safest place to start, and you get the most back fastest. So how do I get started in replens? What do I do to, what's my first step there once I've made that decision?
Well, I think if you, after joining the Proven Amazon course, then you got to get in the Kickstart program.
Yeah. Yep. In the Kickstart program, this is a program that if you're a member of PAC for $37, you can get a 4-week starter program. That's called the Kickstart program. And I'm usually the leader in that program, so I know a lot about it. I've been doing this for about a year and a half now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 4-week program that has all kinds of homework and videos and information that you need to know right up front. We help you get your account, your seller account open if you don't already have an open account. We help you get your Keepa account open. We help you find one item. We're going to go through the process one time of how you find an item, prep it, ship it into Amazon's FBA warehouse, and put it up for sale. We're going to do that all in 4 weeks. During this 4 weeks, we also have 4 live 1-hour Q&A sessions. This was where you can ask anything to do with that, the Kickstart program and what we're trying to accomplish there. Anything. And
not about private label, though.
No, anything that has to do with what we're trying to accomplish in the Kickstart program. We won't confuse anybody because a lot of these people in this, most of the people in this group are there because they want to know how to get started.
Yep.
They're not worried about what they're going to do in 10 years. They're worried about what's step 1.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're trying to help you get through. So we recommend that. If you want more information about that, go to silentjimdotcom/Kickstart and you can get more information about that. But we'd love to have you there too.
So step 1, join PAC. Step 2, get in the Kickstart program.
Mm-hmm.
Step 3.
Mm-hmm. Begin building a sustainable, predictable foundation.
Yes.
The REPLENS course in PAC is going to help you a lot with that. The Amazon 101 is going to help you a lot with that. We've got some places to get started. So don't feel like you have to understand all the advanced things or some of the things that you've heard people talking about that you don't understand yet. You don't have to understand. We're going to walk you through it. We have ways to get you ready for that. We're going to come to where you are and help you get to where you want to be. There are other programs, coaching, and there are all kinds of different programs in this community. But it's free to join the Facebook group.
Yep.
At it's called My Silent Team, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's free to listen to this podcast and listen to all kinds of success stories and be inspired to help you, be motivated to get started. And, there are a lot of free things. There are a lot of things available. Everything won't apply to you, but you can use as much or as little of it as you deem necessary in your business.
I love this part. Like once you kind of get in and get your feet underneath you, which is like joining PAC and then going through the Kickstart.
Mm-hmm.
That's like about 4 weeks of becoming acclimated to the lingo.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Starting to understand some of the jargons.
Yeah.
How to ask a question.
Right. And then when you start focusing in on building that sustainable and predictable foundation by qualifying ASINs, in other words, lining up an ASIN with a predictable, reliable source, and then putting some framework around that to determine whether that item might be test worthy for you or not, and then zero in on that. I really believe that if you can give yourself 12 weeks, 12 weeks, you can get this figured out. The first 4 weeks is going to be kind of this Kickstart program. Okay, the next 8 weeks is going to be this intense, focused effort. And when you're dialed into this intense, focused effort, which is building this sustainable, predictable foundation by identifying qualified ASINs that you can test, and then out of those tests, you will start building a list of replenishable ASINs. That is the key. If you can zero in on that for 8 weeks, you will have, what'll happen with that? You'll start building
your systems out. You'll start realizing what you need to have in place to be able to do the business that you're trying to build. To what kind of time do you need to spend? What kind of schedule do you need to put in there? What kind of effort? What kind of learning do you still need? These things will start building themselves in if you start taking action and keep taking action for about 12 weeks. You'll believe it by then, I'm pretty sure.
That's what I'm saying. As long as you don't quit in that time frame, Give yourself every opportunity to be successful. It's going to be a struggle. Like it just is, right? Those first few weeks are like, what? Am I doing this right? This can't be right. What am I missing? Yada, yada. But it's the persistence that will keep you locked. If you stay persistent, then it will start to reveal itself to you. And it's actually just your mind coming around to how does everything work?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a thing. That's a real thing. Coming around to what am I really trying to do here? We know what our end goal is. A lot of times we can see that, but we can't see what the next step is. And this first, the 12 weeks that you're talking about, you'll get there by then if you really, really take action.
Yeah, but you got to stay on it.
Yes.
You have to be dedicated.
And you got to do one thing at a time. And you got to let yourself be new, and you got to let it unfold. So back to our quote.
Let's just finish up by revisiting the quote now. Yeah. Okay. Extraordinary success is sequential, not simultaneous. You do the right thing, and then you do the next right thing.
All right.
Gary Keller, from co-author of the book, The One Thing.
Yes. I love that quote. I'm going to put that up on the wall.
We always say that. We always say just do the next right thing.
We do. Yeah.
And we did read that book a few years ago, so maybe that's where we got it.
And the sequential, not simultaneous thing is pretty powerful to me as well. But as you're getting going, the first thing you need to do is find some ASINs, find something to sell, right? And then what do you do after that? And after that, and after that? You still have to
test more ASINs. You're always testing ASINs.
All right, let's go test some ASINs. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll see you soon.
Talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks for joining us for today's show. But before we go, I've got a special guest that I like to bring on once a week or so around here. He always brings tremendous value to our community. Of course, I'm talking about Mr. Jeff Schick. How are you today, my friend?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Doing great, buddy. So hit us with some great legal or policy advice from Amazon. What do you got for us today?
Well, today we're going to talk about sourcing at smaller stores, because a lot of sellers tend to stay away from small stores, and they think that if it's not Academy Sports, that you can't shop there. And so they avoid sometimes really good deals on products because they don't know that the store is safe. And so I want to talk about, how do you shop at a small store and know that it's a safe place? So without further ado, I guess I'll jump right into it.
Let's do it.
So I was just telling you, I'm in Orlando, Florida right now. And so for this example, we actually used, so we're going to use Under Armour. And let's imagine that we found a store, and now there's a store that popped up nearby on Google Maps. Let's see, the name of the store is Big Diamond Sports. Looks like they sell baseball stuff, and maybe it looks like they might have like a coaching and training facility for kids that are going through to prepare for college baseball. Right.
So let me help set the table for a second. So I'm a reseller, and I'm thinking, hey, I'm going to go out and find some good REPLENS today. I'm going to go source some products I can sell on Amazon. And there's this little store with this little parking lot and this little specialty store. And I'm thinking, well, if I had to get an invoice from these guys or itemized receipt, and Amazon asked for this from me, are these guys legitimate enough that I'd be okay? That's the question I'm asking myself. Some people are like very cautious, thinking, oh no, I got to stick to Target or Walmart or the big stores only. No. These little stores can be safe, and that's what you're illustrating.
Absolutely. So this is a perfect example. So I imagine, we're pulling up in the parking lot for this store, but we're saying, we look at it and we're like, do we actually trust the fact that, we're going to buy some t-shirts here and sell them on Amazon? And the answer to that depends on what we can find out about the store. Now, we're going to set ourselves 4,000 miles away in Bangalore, India. And so imagine that a seller has now submitted a receipt to you, and you're sitting in an Amazon office tower in Hyderabad, and you're looking at a receipt from Big Diamond Sports. Now, you've heard of Target, you've heard of Academy Sports, but you've never heard of Big Diamond Sports before. And you see that it's in Orlando, Florida. It's got an address. It's got a phone number. It's got itemized details. Let's say it's a perfect receipt. It's got UPCs. How is Amazon going to trust it? Well, it's actually pretty simple. They're going to take the information you gave them and verify two things. One, is this store a legitimate store? And if the answer to that is yes, then they'll verify, is that receipt real? How do they do it? Pretty easily. When it comes to, imagine we bought some Under Armour t-shirts. They're going to go to underarmour.com. At the very bottom, you'll find a button that says Store Locator. And you're going to check the box. There's brand houses, Under Armour, like outlet stores, and then there's a store authorized reseller box. I think it's called dealers. You're going to check the dealer's box, and you're going to type in that zip code from Big Diamond Sports. Now, just if anyone wants to follow the example, the zip code here is 32812. And when you type that in, it's going to pop up Big Diamond Sports. So what has Amazon's person in India just done with that Big Diamond Sports receipt? They verified that they're a legitimate store because they're an authorized dealer on Under Armour's website. So now they don't have to worry about whether this product is authentic Under Armour or not, because they know that Big Diamond is contracted with Under Armour. Now,
Beautiful. Well, can I sum up
so
what we've said so far? Just because this should, for people who followed this, what we just said, should put you at ease because you
right,
can go in and say, okay, here's the items I'm getting ready to buy from store X. Is this a legitimate store? Well, are they authorized to sell those brands or not? You can visit the website of those brands and very quickly know, because that's what Amazon's going to do if they ask you
right,
for a verification receipt. Like you get an IP complaint, we want to verify that these came from a legitimate source. Here's the chain of custody. Here's the receipt itemized. The store actually exists. They're an authorized
yeah,
seller. And in many cases, like Under Armour has, I've got to imagine thousands and thousands of authorized resellers, right? So as long as you're
they do.
dealing from one of them and not like Al's Bin Barn, where you bought a big box of them and no one knows where they came from, now you're playing
Right.
with fire. But if you're getting an itemized receipt from one of these small retailers that exists on the
Yeah,
manufacturer's website, yeah, you're good to go. That's the research that
yeah,
Amazon does when they're verifying.
exactly. Yeah,
Good.
even
Okay.
and some people would say, but wait a second, if you go to Big Diamond Sports, they have no website. I don't even know if they have any Google reviews. And they're certainly, it doesn't look like they're a traditional sporting goods store. I mean, they're not competing with Academy Sports by any means, but they are authorized by Under Armour. So if you're buying, now it doesn't mean you can go in there and buy Under Armour and then also start buying Rawlings and everything else. You'd still have to do your diligence, because yes, we know that they're authorized to sell Under Armour, but if they're selling Rawlings and they're not authorized to sell Rawlings, you don't want to add that to your list of purchases, right? Because they're not, now
Right.
you're in the back of that fire pit again. So
Spoken like a true lawyer. For me, if they're authorized to sell a handful of name brands, I'm going to feel pretty safe shopping there in general. But lawyers speak. I get you. You gotta throw that in. I hear you.
so exactly. But yeah, I mean, they're probably not doing anything shady, because to get an Under Armour contract is decently difficult. So yeah. And so just the whole idea is that you can, when you're shopping at small stores, I gave the example here in Orlando, but obviously not everyone lives in Orlando. There's gonna, there's if you type in your zip code and you find stores around you, you might be surprised to find all sorts of stores that show up on different websites. So you might go to, Yeti.com, you might go to Under Armour, you might go to, Yankee Candle. I mean, you name it, you can look and find these sources for different replens that are, smaller stores that probably would want your business, and they might even be able to offer, bulk discounts and other, quantity discounts as well for you. So
Yeah, it's a great way to do research and find some small businesses that you can go source from, actually, as well. Yeah, great point, man. That's really good stuff. I appreciate the tip today. This is something that I love that because part of having you in our community and contributing, Jeff, is you see what's happening in the real world out there when people are hitting snags, sellers are hitting troubles. And so you bring us what's kind of floating to the top in your world in these little
right.
snippets. So very valuable. Appreciate your tips today, buddy. Thank you.
Absolutely. You're
We'll do
welcome.
it again real soon. Okay.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Jeff. And for those who don't know, jeffschick.com, just like the
Yes,
razor, SCHICK. He's got a
you
great
got it.
monthly program that you can get him on retainer. And we're even working on some good discounts for this community. So be staying tuned for that. You'll be hearing more about that very soon. So we'll have you
Absolutely.
back again, Jeff. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.